Alright, in this passage, or this video, I'm going to be going over this passage that contains all kind of constructions involving degrees, so that hopefully you'll be able to do well on the accompanying multiple choice. So, let's go ahead and go through it. No embedded items, because the multiple choice is the purpose of this. Now, Titus, already, let's go find our verb. There it is. Bibo, bibide, bibi, had drunk. It's pluperfect, as you can see here. And he had drunk plus weenie, more. Remember that more, as you can see it here, with the asterisk. That is because 30 forms, 30 forms, 30 forms, 30 forms. Only one form, it is always substantized, meaning more volume, and it almost always is with a genitive part of a whole. So it says, Titus already had drunk more of the wine, and he had done so multo, ablative of degree of difference, by a lot, quam ali convivi, than the other dinigus. So I was wanting to make the line. Whenever you have a quam, the case of what is the thing being compared is going to be the same as what it is being compared to. If I were to convert this, leave out the quam, you would just merely put this in the ablative of comparison. Degree of difference, telling you by how much. Comparison aliis convivis. The by, with, because of, from, in, on, at, than. Than is now a new translation. Truly, he had drunk the plurimum vinum, the most wine. Again, plurimum, plurimus, plurima, plurimum, modifying the vinum. He had drunk the most, or very much, very or most wine. Cornelius, therefore, shouted, did shout, perfect tense with a perfect stem, you can tell because of the V of V-sucks with an ending est, it, to his dative brother. Over here we can see, frater, fratris, fratri, he shouted to his brother, and he shouted, quam iratissime, quam plus a superlative, as angrily as possible. Quam plus a superlative as blank as possible. It is a superlative adverb, as angrily as possible. Why do you arrive, advenis? Why are you arriving? Sero, S-E-R-O, is the word that means late, but here it has an I-U-S. And so what we have is an instance of the comparative adverb. Again, the word late would merely be sero, but this is serious. Why do you always arrive later? More late. Tanto. By so much. Tantu sa'um means so much, so great. Here it is the ablative of degree of difference. We would in English say, why do you always arrive so much later? But it's later or more late by so much, aliis convivis, than the other dinner guests. Again, you could have used a quam, but then you would have had to have put the aliis convivis in the nominative, because you, the subject, would be nominative implied, and thus it would be alii, and then, of course, con we or con we y, if you wanted to make it first declension. Quanto. By how much better? We in English would say how much better, but it's an ablative showing degree of difference. Melior, of course, is the word better from your word good. Good, melior, better. By how much better? By what degree better is food? Cum does not have an ablative following it, so it means when. When it is not very cold, most cold. Frigidissimus. I like very hot food, most hot food, magus. Magnopere, greatly. Magus, more greatly, or just more, but it's qualitative. You cannot measure it. If it's more plus, you can measure it, quantitative, but more magus, qualitative, cannot be measured. This describes how I love something. This describes how much water I drink. You can measure that. You can measure how much you love something, and that's what we have here. I love very hot food more than cold. Here, quam, hanging around the comparative, but I could have obviously just taken out the quam and put down frigido. Tum fercula. Then the dishes, the trays. Remember, this comes from the word ferculum, ferculi, a second declension neuter, eo, o, a, orm, is, eis, nominative plural neuter, then trays, but they are quam maxima. Again, maximus is the superlative. So with a quam, it's telling you what kind of trays. Trays as big as possible, because at a certain point you wouldn't be able to carry it, but trays as big as possible. Latus, ferro, ferre, tuli latus were carried, have been carried by the slaves. And so they are as big as possible trays. At a certain point they can't be carried anymore. So those trays were carried, the ones as large as possible. Because all were, and this means to hunger, they were hungering maxime. They were not hungering greatly, magnopede, they were not hungering more, but they were hungering the most, as in the most greatly. So, because they were hungering the most greatly, very much, they ate. This is the perfect stem from that verb. That, remember, looks like the following. Edo, esse, it looks just like to be, but this is the verb to eat, and then eighty. Do you see that long E? That's the perfect stem telling me that this is the alternate ending and not an infinitive. They ate, they did eat, they have eaten. So because all were hungering very greatly, they ate the primum mensam, the main course, the first table. Remember, it's gustatio is the hors d'oeuvres or the appetizer. Then you have prima mensa, which is the main course. And they ate that main course, celerius, more quickly. It's an adverb, comparative, not just quickly, that's celeriter, this is celerius. By a lot, telling me by what degree, gustatione, than the appetizer, than the hors d'oeuvres, which is in your ablative of comparison. So, if I wanted to, I could have obviously put quam instead of it in the ablative, and then it would have to have the word gustatio in the same case as to what it's being compared. And it's being compared to the main psalm, so it would be gustationem. Gustationem. So if we did not have gustatione in the ablative comparison, we would say they ate the main course more quickly by a lot. We would say in English idiomatically a lot more quickly than the appetizer course, or the hors d'oeuvres, if you would like. But either one, gustatione, than the appetizer, quam gustationem, than the appetizer, but the gustationem is in the same case as to what it is being compared to. So good luck on that multiple choice. You should have gotten all the answers from me going over it.